Today I'm working on this 2011 F650, and it recently had a AC compressor replaced on it, and then shortly after that it chewed the belt up. They put a new belt on it. This fan clutch, the pulley right here, all these grooves are just filled full of rubber from the old belt. So when they put the new belt on, they didn't get this out of that groove, so it let the new belt jump until it was over far enough. I'll show you what I'm taking out of here. Until it's let the belt get over far enough that it walked forward, and then it got all tangled up and killed another belt. So they fixed the cause, they didn't fix the effects. So it's something else that you need to pay attention to if you ever have to replace a belt because it was burned up. Next, I'm going to take the wire wheel to it, try and clean it up some more. That's better. I think clean up just a little bit more with a knife, a little bit pointier edge. See if I can get some more out of there. Alright, I'm using this pick. It's quite a bit sharper, and I'm getting the rest of that out of there. I think we're close. The majority of it's pretty good. I think we'll be alright now. Yeah, you can't see that. I think we're alright. Got a few more places I'd like to do a little more work to. I can't do it with one hand, but we'll get the rest of it cleaned up. You know, unfortunately, that belt took out the ground of the clutch coil, and I don't know if we can save that. I'm not sure. It looks like it was possibly crimped on right there. I'll see if we can get that clutch coil off and see. So I was able to get the actual outside hub off. It's important to notice there are spacers right on the end of that shaft. It's very important they go back because that sets the clearance between the outside hub and the actual magnetic part of the coil and the pulley. So the pulley, the magnet inside here, this coil magnet gets energized and creates magnetivity, and it pulls this way. So it pulls that outside in and then drives this belt, drives that center shaft. Without the right clearance, if it's too much, it can't pull it in. If it's too little, then it's dragging all the time. So you got to make sure you get the spacers out and you put them back in just as they came out. So I always put them somewhere I won't bump them and lose them. Famous last words. So then there's a snap ring in here that holds this coil on, and I have to see if I can get in there. I'm trying to do this without removing the compressor. Look at this. Nice repair. Heat shrink connectors, and they use a crimp that pierces the heat shrink. Fantastic. High quality everywhere. Alright, let's see if we can get this out. Alright, so I wasn't able to get that snap ring from in there. It was just too difficult, so just unbolt it. I didn't take it in line, so I just twist it out here. And I wanted to put power to this and to the coil, because I thought this may have come off this terminal back here, but I don't think it did. I think this was actually on under a ground bolt with an eyelet. I looked at one of my other trucks, and that's the way it is. However, this wire where it goes into the coil here, the belt caught it and frayed it, so I took this off and I just soldered it and put it back together, and I just tested it to make sure now it works. And it does. It will pull magnetic, put a magnetic pull on it. So now we're going to take care of this and take care of this, and then put that back on and shim it back the way it was. I got that soldered in, and now I'm going to put a heat shrink over it, but before I do, put some of this deox compound on here, and it does just what it says. It fights oxidation. You don't need a whole lot, because it'll just put too much on. It just makes it to where the heat shrink doesn't seal well. So I just put a little on and I work it around, and don't get it on the insulation of the wire. So once I slide the heat shrink up there, it won't affect the sealing to the wire. Alright, so we got the heat shrink on it now. I don't like to move it too much. I like to let it cool, and because if you move it, it seems to waller out the ends of it, don't seal as well. Next step is we're going to cut this back. We're going to install a ring terminal on here, and then we'll use a heat shrink on that as well. Then we'll put one of these serrated washers underneath this to actually bite into the aluminum. I got to make sure it's the right diameter first, but we want it to bite into that aluminum to get a good ground. Supposed to be a holder on this, but it's missing. Make sure she's routed out of the way. Okay, we're ready for a belt. I don't know if I like that at all. Better than what was there, I guess. I went and got a belt. I checked all the pulleys. They all seem to be spinning freely. So I'm hoping it was just that that gummed up mess that was on there that made it kick the belt off. They all look to be in line. So next thing we're going to do is give it a start. You know, this truck belongs to a friend of mine. He bought it. It had an electrical problem, and he stopped by and asked me to put the scanner on it and see if I could see if, you know, anything I could see on it. And I put the scanner on it. He thought it might have been in security mode because it was in D rate and it had no pedal, no throttle response on the pedal at all. It had a pile of failure codes. It had stuff that wasn't working, and I just looked into that and I started checking some fuses and stuff like that, and that was it. And well, one thing led to another, and before I knew it, I was trying to figure out the problem. So I found the problem, or at least I think I found the problem. I don't want to say, because it's had a multitude of problems, and I think what it started from is someone put batteries in this, and the battery cables were arced, and you look at that terminal on the alternator, it's melted like someone was jumping something. I don't know what was going on, but there was an electrical short, and I found a relay that was bad. I found some bad wiring. I had a couple bad modules, and I wish I would have videoed this, because it would have been a great series. But I was already in it before I realized I was actually going to be the one diagnosing. My wife has been cleaning this up for him too. She's doing the interior while I've been working on it. I had this whole dash laying on here, so I had it pretty dirty, and she offered to clean it up for him. Man, it had coffee stains all. It was dirty, you know. He just bought it. It's a used truck, but yeah, she's got it all cleaned up. Where's the key at? Oh, another thing was a cab light. Someone had taken the lens off and replaced one of the bulbs. I noticed when the marker lights were on, that one light was brighter than the other ones, and I took it apart. I had an LED light in it, and lo and behold, it was letting water come down that A-pillar, and there's a bank of relays right there. Got it. But it's a nice truck, 90,000 miles. Power windows, power locks, cruise control, tilt wheel, stereo, CD, upfitter switches. There you go. See if that belt's staying where it belongs now. Side's good. Yep. Looks like it's staying where it belongs. So the next thing I need to do is I need to put some miles on it, because oh, the other thing was I found, I believe, in the battery box here, the negative of one cable and the positive in another one are really bad. So I'm wondering if it's got new batteries. I wonder if someone went to go put the batteries in and hooked one of them up backwards. I don't know, but we're gonna let it run a while. Oh yeah, I wanted to check to see if that AC compressor kicked on. I didn't pay attention if it was driving. Look at how badly rusted the AC lines are. This truck's been sitting an awful long time, and they must have been recharging it, because there's no cap here, and there's no cap right there. At least I know it has the ability to turn on once it's charged. Kick on with a defrost though. Defrost is on, it's on cold, max AC. Yeah, it must be out of refrigerant. Okay, we're gonna let this run for a while. After it's run, got up the temperature, I'm going to take it for a drive. Then once we're satisfied it's fixed, we got to take this big monstrosity of a bed off of here. It looks worse than it is. It's actually in good shape. That's just real light rust on it. It's like the paint. This is just the paint coming off here. It doesn't have any holes in it. It must have been like you know, here's some, this is actual rust here. That's actual rust. He wants us to take this bed off because he don't want it. And he said, do whatever you want with it. I don't care. I just don't want it on this truck. So we're gonna take it off. It's welded back here. Other than that, I think it's just a handful of U-bolts. So we're not gonna do that until after we've driven a little bit, make sure she's okay. All right, so it keeps jumping up here, and you can see what it's done to the edge of that belt. We've lost a rib now, and everything looks lined up. Only I can see is maybe that tensioner might be leaning down on this side. You can see the pulley is shiny clear in on the inside, but it shouldn't be. It should only be shiny just where this is running. So it's possible that tensioner is bad and it's letting that belt roll this way and get it up on top of here. So I'm gonna see if I can find a tensioner for it. I mean, first I'm gonna start this up and show you what I mean. Yeah, it's already jumped over one. And you can see where it's at on that tensioner. Yeah, let's get at the tensioner in the belt. This is what I'm talking about. You see how you have like a rust ring here? Well, the belt's only about that wide right there, and you can see where the remnants of rust was. So the spring in these and the tensioner start to wear, and then it allows this arm to kind of droop just a little bit, and that can let the belt go this way. I felt that pulley, and I usually pull on them. I didn't feel anything, and I thought it was okay, but apparently not, because it obviously is letting that belt slide up. So I'm going to call Cummins and see if they have one. That's usually the cheapest and easiest place to get it, because if you go to Ford, you know, they usually get it from Cummins or whoever supplies Cummins, and a lot of times it's more expensive than just going to Cummins. So I'm going to see if they have that and a belt. Alright, so I called the Cummins dealer, and they've got them in stock. You know, they obviously replaced a lot of them. They got 10 of them. They don't have the belt because, you know, Cummins didn't supply the belt for this. This engine would have been supplied to, in this case, International, I think, is who built the chassis. That's what it looks like. And then, because there was the part of that Blue Diamond series where International built the chassis for Ford, and Ford put their bodies on. But anyways, Cummins would supply the engine, and then Ford would supply the alternator, you know, and the AC compressor, and, you know, it would be tailor fit to the truck, so they would supply that belt. I gave Cummins the belt number, and it didn't cross what they had, so we'll go to Napa and get one. I wish I wasn't in a hurry, because I would just figure out the Dayco number, since Dayco's the one that made this tensioner, and I would order online, probably save 50 bucks, because Cummins wants $180 for this thing. It's a little bit less on my account, but not a lot. So we'll go pick one up and get it on, see if it takes care of it. Look, a new Cummins Trucking, one of their new trucks. Nice. Cummins Trucking has some of the absolute nicest trucks. I've got a cab over wrecker, had one they were putting up for sale. Wish I could afford it, I'd buy that thing. It is nice. Okay, let's go in and get our part. Alright, looks like it's sitting better on there. Sure run the right groove on that bottom pulley. Nope, I'm in the wrong groove on that pulley. I gotta move back some.
He's gonna start it and see what the belt does this time.
Let it idle for a while with that belt. Of course, that belt's damaged now, but looks like it's riding on there better. Okay, let it run, and we're gonna go for a drive, see if any codes pop up. Alright, we're gonna reset the trip odometer. It kind of sucks it's over here. You gotta hit the reset button over here. You know, all your info's over here. Distance empty, 64 miles. That's not correct. This will go more than that. Set up units, language. Guess that's it. Info. Trip A, trip B. Where we at? Trip A, 0 miles. Okay, let's go for a ride. Let's see how she does. She runs and drives pretty good so far. Of course, I just pulled out of the driveway. Good RPMs, good oil pressure. We filled up the DEF fluid, so that's handled. See how she does. Obviously, I think the cruise control works. Let's see. Set. My foot off. Yeah, it works. Let's see. Coast should drop down. Yep, 1 mile per gallon or 1 mile per hour. Go back up. Yep, you can feel it accelerating. Oh, that's cool. Alright, so we'll put a few miles on it. And as long as we don't have any troubles, we'll move forward. But I'd like to put about, I don't know, maybe 10 miles on it, just get an idea that, you know, we're not going to have any other issues. Because when you have a problem like this, where it looks like someone's hooked the batteries up, or maybe put jumper cables on it wrong or something, you know, the likeness that you'll have electrical gremlins show up later is pretty high. So we're gonna put some miles on it. And I told him, I said, don't be surprised if, you know, something else suddenly appears as an electrical issue. But we did away with the aftermarket radio. We put the factory one back in, and I think that may have been, the wiring on that was a little less than fantastic, so that could have been part of a problem. It was one of the problems it was experiencing. But all the power windows and power locks and all that work. Truck's been sitting an awful long time. You know, I think from what I gathered from a friend of mine, it had been towed to 2 different Ford dealers to be worked on, and had extensive diagnostics run on it, and they didn't get anywhere. So, but anyways, we're gonna put some miles on her and make sure we think she's okay before we give her back to the friend of ours. So I was driving along and I saw this fog coming out from behind it. I wanted to make sure it wasn't coolant. Well, we've been getting a lot of rain. It's just the water rolling out the back of this and hitting the ground. But I just wanted to stop and make sure we weren't losing coolant out of the exhaust or something goofy. But I think we're okay, so we're going to continue on, get some more miles on her. This is why I do long test drives. I'm 11 miles into my test drive, and looky there. Have to get it back and see what else we can find. This time it's for an after treatment pressure sensor problem, which we had a different problem before, so we just keep working through it, I guess. Test on the doser valve. I want to see if the pump can hold pressure. It says it's losing line pressure, it's too low. So while it's doing that, I want to lift the hood and make sure the belt's where it belongs, and it is, so that took care of that problem. That's not an issue anymore. So this is a DPF tank, and here's it running, but look at all this. It's been leaking here, and someone's been in this thing before, and there's a lot of crystallization around here. Alright, so I ran tests for the DPF pressure sensor, and we're like right at 130, and I haven't looked to see what the spec is and what pressure is within spec. When the dosing valve drops down, when it doses, it drops down to 129, so I need to look at that and see. But there's a procedure in here where you can reset the after treatment and go through I went through a couple other tests. And before I go any farther, I want to make sure that we have an active fault, because I have a feeling, I actually pulled the filter out too, looked at the filter, and I got a feeling we got something in that doser, or in that reservoir, because that you know, normally it smells like ammonia, and you know, it kind of has that ammonia smell to it, and this has a real slimy, almost diesel fuel type smell to it. So I'm hoping somebody didn't put diesel fuel in there. I don't know, we'll drive it and see, I guess. We got 45.8 miles we've driven, and there's our codes that come back. So what we need to do is find out what's going on. I pulled the filter out of the dosing unit, and I felt it, and I drained it in this bucket, and it smells like diesel. It really doesn't smell like ammonia. Like I got it on my fingers. It's real slimy. So I have a feeling that somebody put diesel fuel in here instead of DEF. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull that sending unit out, and we're going to look at the bottom pickup screen, see if it's plugged up. We're going to take the lines loose. We're going to make sure they're not restricted, and we're going to drain that tank. I'm going to see what's actually in that tank. I'm extremely nervous to find out what's in there. But if we don't have any restrictions, then it's likely that the dosing unit that creates the 130 PSI, and I've looked all over Cummins quick serve and all the service manuals everywhere. I couldn't find a spec for what it's supposed to be. But I asked on Instagram, and a couple guys said they thought it should be, well, one guy said 145 and then said a lot like 130, 135, you know, while it's dosing. But yeah, we're going to take it apart and see if we can find out. So you can see light through this thing, but you can see how the screen looks like it's got a film on it. And if you look down in there, you can see the crud. And it's funny because I can blow through that way and it seems okay, but you can't blow back that way real well. So we're gonna clean that out. I don't know if it shows up in camera, but it is a lot better. I can blow through that much easier and pull air through much easier than it was. So at least we're making progress. Now we need to drain this tank out, because the way it feels, the way it smells, I think there's diesel fuel in there. I didn't know you could make that mistake. Oh yeah, I guess you could. I guess you could. Possibly. So next thing we're going to do is drain that out, and then we're going to flush the tank. There you go. See all the crap down in there? I'm going to get all that cleaned out. So once all the rest of this is out, I'm going to reach in there and clean it as best I can with a towel, and then we'll try and vacuum up what we can't get with a towel. Alright, just a few more pieces to go, and I think we're good. I think that will do. Alright, I got the sending it back in, if that's what you call it, and I've blown out the lines from one end to the other, make sure there's no restrictions in that. I had them disconnected, and I pulled the inlet out, inlet fittings and the return fittings out, the backflow, and made sure they were clean. So now I'm gonna go get some more DEF, some good fresh clean stuff, and put it in, and then we're gonna run the test again. But if that doesn't do it, then I'm probably gonna have to buy that doser unit. All right, so I stopped at Napa, and I got the DEF filled up. So apparently I still have an active tank level code, so we're gonna erase the fault codes. And we're gonna start it up and head back. Okay. Go to the engine, make sure I'm still on here. Depth pressure. Pressure is coming up. 60, 80, 100. 15. I don't know if that doser pump pressure is going to be okay or not. Oh, look at that, it's a little higher. It's coming back down. 140. Let's see where it's at now. 129. Anyways, let's ride on home the rest of the way and let's see what it does. The way I understand it is the way this doser pump works is the ECM controls the RPMs to get the pressure. It's not a brushed motor. They're fixed magnets, is the way I understand it, and it speeds it up and slows it down to get this pressure. So, anyways, no lights on at the moment, but we'll see. Well, so far so good. I went my normal test drive route and back twice, and I'm going another distance, and so far so good, nothing yet. So I figure if I go up here, I'm going up about another, I don't know, probably 10 or 12 miles. I should have 100 on the trip odometer by the time I get back. I figure if it doesn't come on then, I got a pretty good chance that we might be all right. And I think it was the little bit of diesel that was in that tank for whatever reason, and the restrictions where it was crystallized. You know, it could have been that urea was really old as well, I suppose. But you know, that inlet screen was partially restricted, and I took the inlet fittings out of the doser unit and cleaned them up and blew through them, and it seemed like they were okay, and I blew the lines out. So I don't know. Fingers crossed. Well, hopefully this is a fix for it. Well, we're back. I put just about 50 miles on it, and no check engine light, no fault codes. Everything seems to be okay. So, what a relief. So maybe now what we'll do is go ahead and take the bed off the back. I didn't want to take that off until it was fixed because I needed to drive it, and it rides rough enough just with that bare box, but couldn't imagine what it would be with, you know, nothing. Of course, I wouldn't have any lights either, so what a relief. She's finally, at least I think she's fixed. No active codes on anything, nothing on the body, nothing on the trans. It's all in good shape. So, man, fingers crossed. I think we might got her. Yeah, look at that, almost exactly 100 miles or 50 miles. I think it was fit. I put DEF in it here, that what we had went and got, It wasn't enough, so then I drove out to the Napa, so that was however many miles, so, and it hasn't come on, so we're probably pushing 60 miles on our test drive. So as much as I just, whenever you have a problem like this, or a truck that's had problems like this, it's very difficult to finally be satisfied to say it's fixed, because the likeness that he could have more troubles is extremely high. But we can only do what we can do, and for right now, it doesn't have any troubles. So let's get this box off. Well, it's all finished. We got the box off the back, and my wife went ahead and finished up the detailing and got it all cleaned up beautiful like. So it is ready to go. He's on his way to get it. Just got the dash all cleaned up, the floor is all done, sill plates, and I'm getting it wet. So he's on his way to pick it up, so hopefully it's fixed, and fingers crossed he doesn't have any more troubles, but you just never can tell. Thanks for watching.